good. Oh, you're frozen already. Welcome him, Jack. You're frozen on video, but they can hear you audio-wise.
Can you?
Yeah.
All right. Welcome into the Blitz Breakdown, presented by BlitzAnalytics.com. Scouting meets analytics. You meet the newest crop of off-field talent. Of course, me and RobRob come back after a long hiatus, and the video ain't working, but we'll get it fixed. There we go. Am I good?
Yeah, we're good now.
I'm good. Other than this pasty white skin, we are good. Welcome back, guys. Thank you for sticking around. If you still have, I know we have had this long layoff. There's been all kinds of reasons why and excuses why. But, some people got to get healthy, and we had to do our thing. It's been a tough year. We are surviving. I'm glad to be back. I'm glad our teams are back in the playoffs. I'm glad that I got RobRob back on the breakdown, and we can both kind of enjoy this, at least while it lasts. Who knows how long both of our teams will be there for, but I'm pretty happy. Your Rams won. They beat Seattle. Bucks won. Beat the Redskins, but Taylor Heineke played his rear end off, and I was very, very impressed by that. But what were your thought process, coming into this week, and then what do you think after? Do you think the Rams are a legit contender?
That's a rough one. Running and defense travel. So as long as Aaron Donald's okay and Cam Akers can ball, maybe. I think we got a lucky break, to be honest with you. And Seattle didn't show its finest game. But let's be real. It was a great day. My brother grilled steaks for my dad and I, and we watched the game on his phone because 2020 still lingering on here. I told him, I said, defense is going to win this for us. I think that's the script for everywhere. And we got lucky and put up more points than I think we will in most games. So are we legit contenders? Probably not. But can I write a script where we are? Sure. As long as Aaron Donald's pec stays good, we're good.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys have a run game and that defense, you could beat any team.
And right Jalen Ramsey, who's just shutting down anybody who lines up across from him. I don't want to hear any more about how bad it was we paid that high for him. He has been locked down. He owned DK Metcalf all year.
Oh, yeah, and it's a perfect matchup for him with DK being that big body receiver. And, where Ramsey struggles is against the Jarvis Landrys of the world, the slot, guys, the quick twitch, route running type. DK still to this day, we know he can't run every route, or he's not the fastest in and out of his breaks. But if you get him on any form of a deep route, he is like a big threat in the passing game. Well, that's exactly what Jalen Ramsey does. He gets physical with them, and he outbodies them in half of those routes and just eliminates them, which, again, going into this next weekend against Davante Adams, it's another perfect matchup for Jalen Ramsey. Like, I think you guys have a legit shot going in to this week because you run the ball and you play defense and you shut down their number one option. We all know that they're lacking of weapons, even though Lazard comes through. Pass catchers, no-name pass catchers that they come in and make plays. If you can stop the run game with Aaron Jones and you can stop Davante Adams, like, they don't have a whole lot left.
I don't think they have a major advantage because, again, I think if you just go player for player, right? Jalen, look, Davante may be the best in the league, so he'll get some of his. I think Jalen's the best in the league. He'll get his too. Darius Williams has shown up. JJ's been big back there for us. So, I'm not really afraid of anyone past Davante Adams. Now, the real question for me is, can we do anything against Aaron Jones? Is Aaron Donald healthy enough to really put the wood and the screws to A-Rod? If Donald can get pressure and we can do anything against Aaron Jones, I actually like this matchup for the Rams. I prefer to have played the Packers as opposed to the Bucks or something this early, or even the Saints. So I think of the playoff teams remaining, I think this is the best matchup for the Rams, and I think it'll be a tight game, and I think it really comes down to the fourth quarter, and we'll have another good game here.
Yeah, again, I think for at least two of the three teams, Saints lost to Green Bay earlier this year, but for the Rams and the Bucks, I think both of them won in that matchup. That's kind of why I was rooting against the Rams, even though I never root for the Seahawks and Russell Wilson. Yeah, I really would have liked that instead of playing the team that completely demolished, obliterated, like whatever you want to call it, however you want to put it. I mean, they destroyed the Bucks. They embarrassed the Bucks 2 times this year in blowouts. If you combined all of the other losses for the Bucks, the other 3 losses, it's less than a combined of 7 points. If you're talking about like just the Bucks games versus the Saints, like we're talking like a 50+ point margin, like 60+ point margin. Like it's bad.
It is, but there's a couple of things to look forward to, right? Statistically, beating a team 3 times in a year is next to impossible. It has happened, but statistically, it's an anomaly. They finally the 100-yard rush thing. The monkey's off the back there. We know you can now run for them on 100 yards. It's not going to be a huge run game, but Rojo looks good the last few games. You know, I know we had some issues this week, and Fournette ended up with the carries, but he even looked okay. So if you can bang out 2 running backs and say you've got Tom Brady for a third matchup that you've lost to, statistically, the money says bet Bucks there. So, I mean, again, it's not a prime matchup, but it is that one that you want, right? Because if the Bucks go on to the Super Bowl and win it, you're like, we beat everybody that we wanted to beat and needed to beat to show that we were the Kings. So it's kind of that thing. It's like bring on the monster now, right?
Oh, yeah. This is, I think, if they get past the Saints, then they have all the momentum no matter who they're playing, you know, knowing that they've got that monkey off their back. And would I rather face them now than in a week? I mean, I was just hoping to not have to ever see them, and the Bucks just keep rolling with this momentum. But it's going to be a lot closer than it has been the last 2 matchups. The Bucks finally have that offense clicking on all cylinders. Week 1, they didn't even know what they were doing at all. And then week 8 or week 9, I think it was week 9 when they played, you know, the Bucks were still hadn't had that bye week yet. Were just added AB to the lineup, I believe, and haven't had anything figured out. Now AB's got his wheels underneath him, and he is going to be a matchup nightmare.
And I think that you guys paid a little bit for looking forward, looking ahead to the Saints. I mean, who didn't know that was going to be the matchup when you saw the original matchups line up, and Tampa Bay ended up with Washington and the Saints ended up with the Bears, the 2 worst teams in the NFC playoffs. You kind of looked at it and you're like, all right, this is about to be Bucks Saints again right here. Like, I'm pretty sure everybody had the money on that matchup. So I think you guys maybe looked past Taylor his Heineke or Hinke, I don't know, whatever his name is. Flash in the pan guy that everyone's in love with for now. I think you looked forward a little past them, and their defense is good, so they gave you a run for your money, right? But I think it was, look, let's really focus on Breeze and Kamara and Michael Thomas, and let's get ready for this because they have laid the wood to you.
If Seahawks would have won, which they were favored in that game, then we would be playing Green Bay right now. So I think, regardless if it was either going to be Saints or the Packers,
as a Rams fan, I knew we were beating the Seahawks here in the playoffs with no 12th man. It was given to us.
I had that feeling, dude. I had that feeling, but I just didn't have the guts to pull the trigger.
Seahawks in the playoff without the 12th man are half as scary.
It's on record. I said it that like if Golf plays, like I think it's in the Slack. Like if Golf plays, I want. If Golf doesn't start, then I want. I keep freezing up. Then I want the Seahawks, and Golf ended up basically starting. And
and again, I know for sure, but point being is that I think most people saw this as the matchup to come. Again, Seahawks without the 12th. I watched that game and I said, boy, if there were fans in the stadium, I'm not sure we got that W there. So, you know what I mean? I it's kind of the COVID gift to Rams fans is there was no fan interference in the game because they get loud there. So
but
the other thing is you guys get to add firepower. He's coming back this week, man. White'll be back.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I don't think Tyler Heineke does what he does if we have 2 star linebackers playing last week. You know, he was the opposite of where Levante David was. Levante David wasn't the one missing those tackles. You know, our defensive ends were, I don't know how many sacks. And if that is Alex Smith, or if that is even Drew Brees, or if that is even, I'll throw Aaron Rodgers in that mix, they aren't breaking those sacks. So in terms of our defense getting back Devin White, you know, I think that will have an effect on everybody, and then the secondary is going to play a little bit better. I think the ball is going to have to be coming out a little bit sooner, so that'll play in the favor of the Bucks being able to sit on routes, especially if we end up playing Green Bay. The Saints do have a really, really stout front O-line, so that one's going to be a good matchup. Their defensive line has demolished ours, but Donovan Smith, man, he shut out Chase Young last week, so I'm excited. I'm excited for this game, but
And I officially don't want to hear any shit from anybody towards the Bucks about they did it with superstars. Well, then where are their all pros? Where are those?
Yeah, I know we didn't get no love.
Where is it? If you can't have the cake and eat it too, my friends. You can't say, they just bought the Super Bowl and ran away with it. No, then where's their all pros, my guys? You can't have it both ways. So that argument is dead now to me.
It bugs me. Devin White has been having a insanely good year, from a total tackles, sacks, turnovers, forced fumbles, tackles for loss. He was so high in every category.
Levante
from the inside linebacker
too,
position.
just got ripped
yeah, so is
off.
David. But Devin White has 8 or 9 sacks on the season. As a blitzing linebacker. That's
I think
nuts.
they need to change the voting. I think some flaws in the voting came out this season. And you should be voting for a first and a second team, not all just voting first team and then whoever falls off goes to second team, because then you get the Kelsey thing, right? Where how the hell you don't have a second tight end as an all-pro when Darren Waller had the year he had? That makes no sense to me. Now, I get that everybody voted Kelsey, and sure, you probably should have, but that's why you should vote second teamers as well.
Yeah, I agree. Both the All Pro and were kind of trash this year. But it's just one of those years. I mean, the Browns freaking won, dude, without a head coach. How are you gonna tell me this isn't one of those crazy years? Anything could happen. The Browns could beat the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend. It could happen. Will it happen?
Yeah.
You think so?
I'm not saying it will, and I don't know that I'm brave enough to put any money on it, but if you want to win some money, they're talented enough to beat Kansas City, and the line's going to be insane. So,
but
hey, stranger things have happened, right? The odds of repeating a Super Bowl are hard, even with the best player in the league. Now, do I think Kansas City wins? Yeah. But could they? Sure, man. They're talented as all hell. The Browns are talented, man.
Yeah, on every facet and every level of the offense, the defense, skilled position players, they are super. They could possibly be KC's kryptonite too with that run game, because if you can take the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands just a few extra minutes, that's a few extra scores that aren't going to be up on the scoreboard. My whole thing is, they were up by 28. I know you play a little bit softer defense when you're up by that and you're just trying to get rid of time and you're not so much worried about the score. But for me, with between those 4 interceptions and them only winning by 11 points, I think Patrick Mahomes makes that comeback happen. And I don't know if Baker could outgun Patrick Mahomes in a playoff situation.
No, there's a 2% chance they win. I'm not saying there's a large percent. It's a game I'll watch though.
It could happen though. I mean, these games have been won and lost off of pure emotion. Like this last week, I feel like anybody that had a chip on their shoulder came out to play just a little bit harder than the people that didn't. A la, the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I hate to rag on our boy, but
oh, he's already he said in the chat that we're both happier than the depressed Steelers fans, so he gets it. And plus now Pouncey leaving, man, big knock to them all around. And probably Ben too. I don't know. I was riding that Steelers bandwagon for a long time this season, but the wheels fell off, guys. And maybe it's just that they peaked. That's what it was. That's what they are, and it is time for something new.
You can only get rid of so much talent before it starts costing you. It happened with the Texans, and losing all pro talent over the last couple of years, like Antonio Brown and Lev Bell and some of the guys on the defense. Even though they still have a stout defense, they lost guys to injury this year. Without Devin Bush, the whole defense kind of shifted. As soon as you start having injuries to the secondary, but they have a lot of old guys. They have the Joe Haydens. They have they have Pouncey's going to retire. Big Ben can't retire because there's like a 30-something, $36 million swing riding on next year, $34 million swing. So if he retires, he has to give back 12 million. But if he plays, he's guaranteed a $24 million, $25 million salary. I think it's like that's guaranteed, and I think there is incentives and bonus on top of that. So he could make like, it could be like a $40 million swing, but a player want to give money back out of his own bank account.
You're 100% right. But I'll tell you what, look, Steelers, if that's how it goes down, don't rework the contract. Take it this year. Take the bullet. Just get it over with. Don't rework it and push it down the line. And you're still going to have to be super aggressive in a market where quarterbacks are available. You're going to have to be super aggressive. You don't have the guy on the roster who's coming in. Mason Rudolph is not that cat.
No.
So you're going to have to do something.
I think that there's one or two things going to happen. They're going to mutually part ways, and basically Big Ben is guaranteed money goes away as long as he doesn't have to give back his bonus. And so basically they just like shake hands, call it, send c'est la vie. And then if he wants to retire after that, he can retire, and he's not tied to that contract where he'd owe that money back. Or he goes and tries to find a team like Rivers, like Brady, Peyton Manning did, and get one last.
I don't know, man. I think part of what hurts.
Nobody wants that.
Ben didn't look like he gave a shit until it was over. When it was over and he sat on the bench and he said he was sorry to Marquise, that was he didn't look like he cared that you were down 4 touchdowns.
Look at Ben's physique and tell me he's ever given a shit. Like that's been my big thing. Like, no offense to the big man, I love you.
No, but, I mean, let's be real though. You look back at his career and how good it would have been, and been like, man, had you really trained, I wonder what you could have been.
Yeah, if he was on the Tom Brady diet and like workout regimen and putting money, I think like you hear like Brady puts $1 million into his body a year or some shit like that.
Yeah.
What if Big Ben puts like $1 million worth of cheeseburgers into his body a year?
That's true,
like he's eating like, and all more power to him. That's why he used to be one of my favorites, because he was a chubby quarterback, and you're like,
for sure. Well, and he fit that Pittsburgh dynamic, right? It's cold, it's grizzled, they're men out there, and he was that guy. So, but again, I think, let's be honest, I think it's done. I think they move on from Juju. Probably Villanueva's gone. I think at this point you look and you say, let's build around this defense. Let's keep that intact. Let's focus on making sure that doesn't leave us, and trying to find a quarterback, even if it's a decent above average bridge quarterback, and you pick take a flyer on a guy in the draft every year for the next 2-3 years. Ben's done, guys. Ben's done. And if your hopes are riding on Ben Roethlisberger, you saw what your best is, and it's going to be like a 10-6, and they're going to fizzle out in the playoffs, because truth is, he just doesn't have that anymore. So
there could be a lot of quarterbacks on the market.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying you have to be aggressive.
Just like how the Bucs did. Like, a seamless transition can happen. Will it happen? No, I'm sure that they will try to stick it out for one more year. And
I think Roy just dropped the one that's coming. I think Roy dropped the one that's coming. I think it's Gardner Minshew.
But I think Minshew's still under contract with Jacksonville.
But I don't think it would take a large package for them to remove him from the equation, because you would rather have a veteran down there who's like got the ropes, right? Like give me a Fitzpatrick to teach Trev, if we're going to give him some time, if he's not week 1 starter. I'd rather go out and find a Fitzpatrick level guy rather than having Minshew on the roster talking about who should be the starter, because he does have fans down there. So just move on, get what you can for him. Third round pick, probably 4 for Gardner Minshew at this point, because you just don't need him down there. You would rather have a veteran with experience, especially playoff experience. Please give me somebody with some sort of playoff experience. And again, I think he's flashy. I think the Pittsburgh fans would fall in love with Gardner Minshew, and that would allow them to do what they've historically done before the big Killer Bees era, which is defense and running, right? And then you got a quarterback who can get it done when he needs to. That's kind of what I think of for old school Steeler football anyway. Bring it back, man. You've got that stud defense.
I guess he's a bridge. He's a decent bridge, but he's a bridge where you're trying to win,
right? Because you can never be if you're 2-14 as a Steelers coach, bro, you are the worst ever, and they will never forget you as the worst ever. Like that with something like that, rebuilds have to stay in the 6-win area at a minimum.
Tomlin is going to be coaching for his job next year, so I know he's going to be pressing the front office to get guys now. But I'm telling sure,
you, if you've heard the rumors of teams trying to trade for coaches, and it sounded for a little bit like it was going to be somebody trading for Peterson. Hey, if you need a coach, I wouldn't be opposed to you calling Pittsburgh and saying, let's get a deal done. You guys are done with Tomlin. Let's be honest. We need a new culture here. The players like the guy. Let us have him. Let's see what we can do for Tomlin. I think trading for Tomlin is one of the few coaches that I would be okay with that.
Yeah. I don't know. What about Dak though? Like if Dak
that's interesting. That's very interesting.
If Dak's hitting the market, they make a deal to cut ties with Ben. Like they treat their quarterbacks pretty well there. I mean, letting Ben get away with all that shit. And I'm sure Dak and Tomlin, I bet you that's probably a good fit and pairing. Like that offense is built and predicated on the run game. It's going to need some retooling, but he's got weapons. He's got young weapons in Claypool and Deontay Johnson. I mean, then you've got
but again, Roy, I don't know where they've got the money for Dak is the issue. You're going to have to find somebody on a team friendly or rookie deal. It's like they're in cap hell still.
Well, that's what but if they get, let's see, where are they going to be? Oh, yeah. They're 21 million over the cap as is right now. For sure, they're going to have to.
So that's why a guy like Minshew makes sense. You've seen him win games. He's on a rookie deal. You're not long-term committed, but if he comes in and balls out, then you can work things around and give him the deal. Minshew is to me the overwhelming favorite to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers next season if it's not Ben Roethlisberger, in my opinion. I just don't see a lot of guys who you can go get on a rookie deal who have won games right now. You've got some older vets you could probably bring in, but again, that feels more like a Band-Aid than a bridge. Minshew's my favorite, and I don't know that makes them instant contenders again, because I don't know what they do with James Conner, or if they just let him go and Benny Snell takes the role, or even if they spend draft capital to bring in another running back and just say we're going to start fresh all around here on the offense. They're going to have some holes, and I think next year is going to be something that Steelers fans aren't used to in a transition period. You guys have been good for so long.
I was so wrong. Ben against the cap next year?
45, so right?
Against the cap, $41 million. I had to rub my eyes to see this right. So his base salary is only $4 million, and a prorated bonus that they've already paid him is 22 and a quarter, and he gets another $15 million on top of that for a regular bonus. Like, I think those are weekly game check types things. Oh, dude. So even if they cut them and they eat the 22 million, they're still saving 19. And then Pouncey will free up, it looks like, at least a minimum of 8 million in base salary, because I think he'll already have gotten his guaranteed bonus. Yeah.
I mean, they're going to have to do some stuff with the young players. Again,
Hayden, yeah, they are going to owe Hayden if they cut him still.
And TJ Watt's going to get a big money deal. He has to. TJ Watt at some point will be cashing in, and you have to factor that into your money.
Yep. 2021 is his 5th-year option, so he's on the last part of his deal, and it's never good. They should have already made that deal happen. And then same thing with Minka though too. Oh man. Minka's on
That's
his
how
last
when
year.
you look at that, there is zero way Juju comes back. There's just financially you can't. You cannot, even if they wanted him to come back, there's no money for him.
No, and I wouldn't. I don't know. What do you think about Juju's antics during the playoffs and calling the Browns just the Browns and dancing on people's logos? Do you think that's like unnecessary motivation, or do you think that it only is like what you make it?
I think it's something we've seen from this position group for a long time. I don't think it's any different than your Randy Mosses, than your Terrell Owenses. You know, it's a little weird because it's in Pittsburgh, and there you've had guys like Hines Ward, who I don't even, for the longest time, couldn't even tell you what his voice sounded like. But I mean, it's kind of just the era we live in too, right? It's social media days, and Juju is 70% football player, 30% social influencer, right? So he just doesn't fit the mold for Pittsburgh. I don't mind it. Let's be real. If that's what it, if you let a team beat you because your wide receiver danced on their logo, you've got more issues than that. I'm always going to go back to that. You should play no matter what your wide receiver danced on, like you're gonna win the game. So if you're leaning on that as, oh, we lost because Juju gave them bulletin board material, well, you guys got more problems than you think.
I agree, but I do think that adding any extra bit of motivation,
I think
in
that hit
terms,
he took in Cincinnati, that's directly affected. But that was him, right? Like they targeted him, and that's fine. That's you paid your penance there. But I don't think it influenced the team. I think they're pro athletes. Sure, I've said it before. Now again, here's that double-edged sword, right? Where the difference in winning and losing may be micro. So at that point, sure, maybe. But he just doesn't feel like a Steelers receiver to me at all. And I think
no.
I think he gets to succeed other places, but I don't think he's an alpha either.
My whole thing is like if it comes to boxing or you've seen it in like MMA, like Conor McGregor, when he talked trash, like he would get guys like, to do too much and get overstep. I think when it comes to a team sport and a 52-man, 53-man roster type deal, plus your coaches and stuff like that, you like those kind of like that kind of dynamic, you're not going to have all these guys take it too hard or not take it to heart and not use it as motivation in some form or fashion. But like they're not going to slip up. Just because Juju did that doesn't mean that they're going to now slip up on the field. Like there's
Right.
too many guys to have that mess up moment like you would in MMA or you would in boxing, where you're over aggressive and you get hit and it bites you in the ass. Like there may be certain situations, but a whole team I think is still going to use that. A team mentality is stronger than that to where it won't affect them in the same manner.
I think what a guy like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson does is that affects the game more than like what a Juju does, right? Like when he can get in your ear and piss you off to the point where you'll punch him and be out of the game. Like,
yeah,
that's way
like,
more.
He's got punched 3 times this season?
Like, yeah, dude. Like he's
a stat. That's a stat.
He's his own stat category for sure.
Dude, he's been. I mean, we were all high on him. I just didn't know, like, had no idea he could talk trash at that level. I would definitely, me or Cody. I think Cody did his scouting report. Might have to up that. We might have to add like a shit talking influence, like influencer stat. Like,
right.
can he? Does he have some Jalen Ramsey in him? Like, can he get under their skin?
That's I mean, that's an underrated value though. I mean, it really influences games. I hate to be that guy, but I'd rather have him on my team than against me. So,
all right. So I know we talked about Pittsburgh having to redo this. We kind of talked about the Bucks and Washington game, which I was again very happy with, very impressed with. Nervous the whole time. Where do you think Washington goes from here? Because that team does seem like it has some pieces. Like they maybe need to add some, kind of fix the offensive line a little bit. They had a lot of injuries this year. They could add some weapons and some playmakers on the offense side of the ball. But, and probably get a real quarterback. Heineke is going to definitely be there this next year, probably fighting for a job after that performance. But I don't know, I'm sure that they'll either bring somebody in free agency. I don't think Alex Smith is going to be the long-term answer. I think he, got his time back on the field, and I think he'll probably hang it up this year.
Yeah, I do too. I think it was more of a let's prove I can do it thing than let's prove I can play 5 more years.
He got everything he needed out of it. I don't think any of us need to see him getting his ass kicked behind a bad offensive line.
Yeah, get out while the getting's good. I don't need to see it again this time, knowing you'll never walk again.
But
I think they're honestly just a quarterback short of being competitive. Maybe not Super Bowl competitive, but competitive. Like win the division at above 500 record competitive. I like the backfield. I'm not in love with it anymore. After yet another Love injury and Geis being what happened, we won't talk about that, but him being gone now. So maybe you stockpile some weaponry in the draft. I don't know what they do at quarterback. It's really because I don't think you find one where they're going to be at in the draft. I don't think they really have the capital, and they have some stuff they need more than to throw it all up to move up for a guy. So I'm not sure where they find a quarterback, but there will be some available. Unfortunately for them, they're a division rival of a team that has 2 quarterbacks and probably has to get rid of one, so they can't be the beneficiary of anything coming from Philly. But I honestly, that defense, as it grows into next season and has an off season to really plan, and hopefully we get back to some sort of normalcy before the start of next season, and they have an entire off season to really get it together. I'm scared of that defense, right? Like, that's a nasty defense. Again, though, where's that quarterback coming from? Because you don't have him on the roster.
Again, there's going to be quite a few out there. Could it be like a Fitzpatrick? Could it be a Mitchell Trubisky? Could it be a quarterback in the draft? It is a quarterback in the draft. You still need to have somebody there. So is it Tyler Hank?
If Deshaun Watson is legitimately available and the Washington football team doesn't sell their soul in an attempt to get him, they're doing a disservice to their fans. Because if you found a way to pluck him out and plop him down on this roster, that is a 12-4 team for me next year. And I'm, again, sell out if he truly is available in any form or fashion. I do not care what it takes to bring him in, short of dismantling your defense.
What were you talking about? You broke up there for a second.
Deshaun Watson. Bring Deshaun Watson in. No matter what it takes. I don't care how many draft picks it takes. I don't care. You've been wrong too much.
I don't know if that's a team Deshaun Watson's going to want to go to. I feel like there's so much turmoil. Like, the team doesn't have a name, for Christ's sakes. Like, Deshaun Watson's not going to go play for the football team.
What builds your brand quicker than adding a superstar quarterback at the same time you get your logo, the same time you define your new thing? He is now the face. We are now this team with legit quarterback play and a stud defense in the weakest division in football. Washington's fan base would explode to have that kid.
I would say anybody in the bottom 21 has to, minus Arizona, minus the Chargers. Outside of that, every other team better be kicking the tires on Deshaun Watson and seeing what it would take. Because if you have a quarterback like Atlanta, for Christ's sakes, like Atlanta has a quarterback, they can trade that quarterback and number 1 draft picks over and get Deshaun Watson, and they are basically revamping their team with one move, giving the Texans still a quality quarterback, franchise type quarterback.
I'll tell you what, if you're one of the people out there rooting for Deshaun to Miami and Tua to Houston, how dare you? Because you just know that Houston offensive line is going to get Tua murdered. Like, you guys are rooting for the demise of a person in that trade.
Seriously.
And no, Roy, no Cam Newton to Washington. I don't need to see that part happening in the nation's capital with the Rivera Cam Newton pairing. I know I've heard some buzz on that too, but I think that's lazy. And actually, I don't like it at all anyway. So,
Yeah, I can't really see that one. I don't know where Cam goes this next year unless he's
Cam Newton,
back.
if Big Ben retires, right, and Pittsburgh gets nothing, I could see Cam Newton going to Pittsburgh for a year because they'll just run, 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 run. Who cares? Deontay Johnson's going to be the lead wideout. Juju will be gone. They're not wide receiver heavy past that. I mean, is Washington going to be back, or is his contract up too? So I mean, again, you could convert this team into a rushing team just by going balls to the wall, throwing Cam Newton in there, and going with it. But Deshaun's not going to Pittsburgh, my friend. Roy is having delusions of grandeur over here.
James Washington's on his last year of his contract right now. What was I gonna say? I mean, we can go on and on and on and on about that one, but yeah, who knows where the quarterback's going to come from?
But I think we're both 100% secure saying it's the quarter. You add a quarterback here and watch out for the Washington football team next year.
Yeah, likely won't be Deshaun Watson, but I mean, give that fan base something to hope for.
Right.
Like you said, that's going to be the only thing that'll allow them to rebrand.
And they're the only team that can say, hey, I'll tell you what, we'll become the Washington Deshaun Watsons if you come here. I don't care what we've got to do to get you. You will be the logo if we have to.
You ain't lying. I'd sell Tom Brady down the river for Deshaun Watson right now. Like, I'm just being real.
If your quarterback isn't named Patrick Mahomes,
yeah.
I mean, maybe Russell Wilson gets some Seattle stay, but Deshaun's 25 years old and a baller.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Even if you're like the Rams right now, I would be like, hey, how much you like Jared Goff?
You can have Jared Goff, and we don't like draft picks anyway.
Yeah, we don't deal with first round draft picks. We ain't got them till like 2023, 24.
You can have them all.
Yeah, we'll give them to you.
Right.
Next 10 years, here you go. Take them all.
Wouldn't care.
But the Colts are a team that was a close victory. And with Josh Allen fumbling that ball late in the fourth quarter, if that's any other team, if that's a team that I think is a little bit better managed, with a different quarterback under the helm, I feel like they lose that game. So I think the Bills got lucky. But the were and are a really good team. I don't know if they move forward with Phillip Rivers. Jacoby Brissett's going to be on the is a free agent this year. They need a quarterback. The Carson Wentz rumors, I think, are somewhat true. But if they could get even semi-solid QB play, now they have to find a replacement for Costanzo.
Yeah, he retired left tackle.
Yeah, Anthony Costanzo. I think I'm saying it wrong. So they're losing, like, that's been the staple of their team the last couple of years, like since Quentin Nelson took over or got there, was that offensive line, the run game. I think Jonathan Taylor is going to be even better this next year. I think I was a year off on my Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Jonathan Taylor predictions, but I think Jonathan Taylor is going to take over the league and dominate this next year once he's lead back. But they need a quarterback too. I mean, I don't think that they're going to settle for Phillip Rivers this next year. I think they'd be silly too.
I think Cody put it right. You can't settle for Rivers again because you know what the cap is.
Yeah.
It's this, right? We'll fight for a playoff spot and coin flip if we win in the first round or not. The Wentz thing, and again, this goes either way. I'm calling Philly every day, and I'm saying, which one of them can I have? Just which one? You pick. You tell me what you want for them, and we'll go from there. I don't. Philly is intriguing to me, and I think they hold the cards for a lot of teams moving into the offseason. So I think they're going to be the most important team because whatever they do with Carson Wentz is going to influence what every other team starts to do that needs a quarterback, because I think he's going to be the target available one. We've heard the name Matthew Stafford passed around. If he does become available, I like that fit with the Colts. It's a little more known commodity than what you have with Carson Wentz, and it feels like they're in a win-now mode, so maybe you do want that commodity rather than the longevity of a prospective Wentz stay in Indy. So, but I think it's those two guys. I think they've got to wrangle their hands on whatever Philly wants to get rid of, which I assume will be Carson Wentz, and maybe Matthew Stafford if the Lions decide to finally part ways there.
I don't think there's any chance they're getting rid of Jalen Hurts. Like Hurts, like definitely impressed. Again, in early starts, it's hard to really get a grasp on what the player is because the defense doesn't know how to read what the offense is doing, doesn't have any film on it. So it's like your defenses are going in blind, just like the Bucs were against Heineke this last weekend.
I wonder how many teams start to get scared away now from the whole mobile guy thing after because he came back on the last few weeks of the season, but it felt like a drastic drop off from Lamar Jackson, and he's way more athletic than a lot of the guys that are going to be running that position. So I wonder how many guys aren't half scared away about that, about maybe the league going back to a traditional dropper. But I think the relationship with Wentz is too screwed up anyway. Between maybe not him in the front office, but him and the fans, right? And Philly's that city, man. You've got to have some sort of relationship with the fans because they'll make his life horrible.
I think that relationship is broken. I do think Wentz is likely on his way out, depending on who they bring in, because the relationship was broken between him and Peterson, and it wasn't between him and the franchise. But I do think the fan base now has smelled blood in the water, and those fans are ruthless out there in Philly, and they will not let him, unless he comes out and throws 4 touchdowns week 1 and shuts them all up. The second he has, and does it like for 16 weeks straight, the second he has a bad game, they're going to be tearing his ass up.
Yeah,
but they would have done that anyways. They're Philly fans. So
Jalen was way more fun to watch. The games were way more fun to watch when Hurts was in.
Oh, I agree, but is that sustainable? We don't know. I'm not going to judge Jalen Hurts off of that just yet. Right. Just like I'm not going to go. I'm not even going to go as far as to judge Justin Herbert on his first year because they're gonna cut off all those throwing lanes that he loves so much. He's just got a cannon for an arm. Will it sustain? We don't know. They always look good year 1, or they always look good coming out the gate, and then they tend to teeter off, and you kind of get a plateau of what their career is going to be. So I'm interested to see what's going to happen with them. The Titans, I think, are a team that just needs some retooling. They need to add some pieces defensively. I think they're depleted in the back end. The Bears, again, QB away.
I don't know that the Bears are a QB away.
They need some weapons on offense.
I'm actually I feel a lot about the Bears like I do the Steelers, and Roy put it well about the Steelers is that he feels they're closer to rebuilding than getting a playoff win. I think the same thing about the Bears. I think you're closer to a rebuild than a playoff win, and you're in the same boat actually. That your defense is pretty good. What the hell is your offense? I don't know. If you're not going to give Montgomery the rock, then find a new running back who you will. If you're not going to pay Allen Robinson, then let him go. If you're going to have him on the field, throw him the ball. You can't keep taking stabs at middle-of-the-road quarterbacks. Bringing in Foles was nothing. That was a bad move. Starting Fultz was a bad move. You should have just let Trubisky take it the whole year, really seen what you have. And although he did win the MVP on the Nickelodeon game. I'll tell you what, the Bears, I think, I don't really like what's going on there anywhere. I don't like the coaching staff there. Not real sold on the front office there. They do have Khalil Mack, but even he felt like he wasn't as impactful this year. They've got some other pieces on the defense. Again, I think I'm in the boat where I believe the Bears are closer to rebuilding than ever winning a playoff game.
I beg to differ. I think that they are probably 3 pieces away, but I 100% agree. I think it's the coaching staff. The coaching staff sucks. If you can't get anything out of that offense, that is not the player's fault. It's not the GM's fault. That is the coach's fault. That is the play caller's fault. And Nagy was we were all led to believe that he's this, offensive guru type genius.
He's the new Adam Gase to me. He's the favorite for me going into next year to just not have a job if he keeps his.
So harsh.
Look, it is what it is.
It's hard to put. I feel like I don't dislike Nagy as a person. Gase, I think a lot of us just kind of have a disdain for. If
you took Brian Flores and his staff from Miami and stuck them in Chicago, I might change my tune because they get the most out of the players, right? But what are the
Yeah.
odds that you find a coaching staff that's going to come in week one, day one, and be like, no, we're not going to play this half-assery. We're not going to get cute with our running game. We're not going to just forget that we have a running game with middle-of-the-road quarterbacks here. They did nothing right to me, and somehow or another limped into the playoffs. Here's my opinion, right? The expanded playoffs worked for the AFC, but not the NFC. The NFC, we got two crap teams because of the way it's set up. Washington and Chicago are not playoff teams. They should not have been in. Period.
Yeah, well, the Washington one, like, we're not going to ever fix that, and they did put up a fight. The Bears one, I think a lot of it had to do with injury. Like, Arizona would have been a good team if not for injuries, like, to the defense. Like, there could have been. I think injuries played a lot of that. So I do think there was. But I don't know. There was a big shift this year in AFC teams being better and more well-rounded than the NFC teams. Like, NFC was very top-heavy with the top 4 teams that are in it right now, and then there was everybody else. AFC is still right now could be a crapshoot. You know, KC could win it all easily, and none of us would blink an eye. You know, but I wouldn't be too surprised if the Browns put up a hell of a fight like this next weekend. It could happen.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's threats out there. If Josh Allen plays an immaculate game, the Bills are hella scary. I looked at the Bears and I'm like, I'm not afraid of any of this. You could line this up against any team in the playoffs, and I would have taken the Washington football team to beat the Bears had that been the lineup, to be honest with you, because at least their defense, it seems faster. It seems more punishing when you make a mistake. The Bears just feel flat. Like, they may win a game, but it just felt flat, right? And it was they went 4-0, right, to start the season. And then just the rest of the year. It was just not fun to watch. It doesn't feel like I'm watching anything being created ever. It just feels like they're recycling the same old plays and the same this and the same that. It's just gotten stagnant and stale to me, to the point where I think, look, man, just let's move on. It's not going to work. You're not really, even if they got good, Jack, would they, like, if I gave you a quarterback, if I said like a Carson Wentz was here, a quarterback you've seen get it done, are you going to take them over the Bucks? Are you going to take them over the Packers? Are you going to take them over the Saints? Would you take them over a healthy Arizona? Would you take them over a healthy Rams? Would you take them over the Seahawks? It just feels like there's nothing good there.
If you added I will cut you off on that one. I do think if you add a productive quarterback into that offense and they actually got their shit together play calling wise, like 3 pieces. If you told me to take that team on Madden right now, sat me in the shoes of the GM and told me to fix this team in a year, I think that team is a little bit more easy to solve.
But the thing is they're not going to
they can get a legit quarterback.
With the Jags job being available with the number 1 pick, the Jets job being available with the number 2 pick, the Texans job being available with, as of right now, Deshaun Watson available. You're looking at what being at best the 4th best option for a coach right now, like, and you've got to deal with Chicago winter and all that. Look, man, and I'm with you. Sure, if you guys want to keep being middle of the road, then keep doing what you're doing. You're never going to be horrible, but you're never going to be great. If you want to be great, you're going to have to reassess where you are. And I'm 100% with you. It comes with starting with a new coaching staff. I like nothing about it. But then I think it comes with blowing it up.
Get a new coaching staff would be the first thing, but I don't know why you would have to necessarily blow it up. They've got good young wide receivers. They've got a few pieces on the offensive line. They need a quarterback. Like,
Anthony Miller's okay, but Allen Robinson's gone. Like, he's not going to be in tow.
Mooney looks like a promising prospect of a wide receiver too. Yeah, you have Allen Robinson, and that's somebody that, like, for Blitzalytics, he's always graded out super high in terms of our metrics. He's always been, for us, one of the best wide receivers in the game. He practically carried his team last year. He had like 25% of their yards and like 30% of their scoring plays came through Allen Robinson. At the wide receiver position, I think he was number one in one of those and top 5 in the other bit of the categories. Like they could. If without coaching staff, get rid of that first and then add a few pieces. I don't think there's no reason to blow it up when one side of the ball is holding up their end of the bargain. Like that is a really good defense. Just because the offense is such shit, it's making the defense not look as good as years past.
It's true. But they're also aging out, and we're going in, when next season starts, will be 4 years from their historic defense. And now we're talking about how long can you sustain without the injury bug coming up and biting you in the ass, without a loss of step on a cornerback is dire if he's not perfectly technically sound. I just, again, maybe they're, but again, it's an odds thing for me. What are the odds that you get a decent coaching staff and a good quarterback in the same offseason? That feels sure, but how many teams it could say that if I got a new coaching staff and a good quarterback, we'd be good? A lot. There's a lot of teams in that boat.
Yeah, and even sitting as it is right now, they're over the cap by like $90,000, and that's without Trubisky on there. So I think like someone like Danny Trevathan's probably on their way out. Like they're gonna need to downsize and then supplement with young players to the draft. They're not gonna have much money to play with come free agency. So
this may be another landing spot.
Retooling, not rebuilding.
Right. This may be another landing spot for Gardner Minshew as well. A cheap rookie contract, get off the Trubisky train, figure out how to get out from underneath Foles, and just say, okay, we're going to start new. Here's a fun guy for you guys to enjoy for a little bit.
Yeah, I would say you're right in terms of we're all bad on our connection.
Your audio's coming through fine for me, but your video keeps pausing. Yeah.
Huh. I don't know if I should pause it or what. But yeah, I guess a retool plus a new coach is definitely going to be considered a rebuild, even though it's still retooling, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, anyways, not a lot of teams go through full rebuilds like we traditionally think they do anymore. They try to remain, like I said, the new rebuild is a 6-win team. Back in the day for us, Jack, rebuild meant your team about to win 2 or 3 games. It's not like that anymore. Like fans expect you to win 5 or 6 games, even in a rebuild season.
Unless you're
like you're the Jets or the Jags. There's a couple teams every year who are gonna fall below that, but let's be honest, those fan bases expect losses yearly anyway.
A little bit more used to it, I would say that much.
Like I remember, like the Rams being 8-8 every year, and people were like, "Well, are you worried about your team's 500?" Because it sucks being in the middle of the road. I'd rather suck or be good, man. Don't give me an 8-8 team every year.
I agree with you. I always like that for the Bucks. It'll just suck really bad or make the playoffs.
Yeah,
one or the other.
One or the other, man. Don't give me this 8-8 on the fringe playoff shit. And I'm done with that. Let's
roll into this week. You do have Rams at Packers on Saturday. Ravens at midnight. Browns at Chiefs, and then Bucks at Saints. What do you think? At least just bracket-wise, what do you think is going to be the biggest potential upset?
I think the games are close. I think the only game where you actually could say there's a legitimate upset would be the Cleveland-Kansas City game. The other ones, I could write a script for the other team to win, even though I have my favorites. But I think if you're looking for an upset of traditional definition of upset, there's only really one choice, and that's Cleveland. Getting a healthy team back, getting your coach back is going to be super helpful. And then you're going to need Myles Garrett to play outside of his mind and really put the wood down on Patrick Mahomes. And then you're going to have to accept that Tyreek Hill's going to get his, so I've got to make sure that nobody else does. I think short of that, it's still going to be a loss for Cleveland, but I don't think you could say like if the Saints or Bucks win, is that an upset? No, I mean both of those teams have a way to win. The Rams Packers, is that going to be an upset? No, because let's be honest, it's a great Packers offense versus a great Rams defense, and a middling Rams offense versus a middling Packers defense. So it's which one shows up. The other two, again, flip the coin. Who's your favorite team? You know what I mean? And both of them could win. So I think there's only one chance for an upset.
I mean, still, your Rams are what, the six seed playing the 1 seed. So like technically,
I mean, yeah, if they win, it would be an upset. But again, it would probably come from a standout defensive effort, which, if the Rams win, that's kind of what you expect has to be the script.
True. I do. I think the Rams beating the Packers would be the biggest one, or would be the easiest one, the low-hanging fruit.
Right.
Browns, man, it's just like, you have that feel-good story. You would love to take down, the Giant, take down the champs. I don't think it's going to happen.
I might put $10 on it just because, right? Like, why not, Get a good payout on
Bet
that.
against
I don't
Patrick
know what the
Mahomes,
line
basically
is,
just giving away money.
It is.
And then Bucks Saints game, I have no idea what. Like I said, you hear my voice like lower. I'm a little nervous about that one. If they've smacked us around twice, but I do think the Bucks are going to be a hard team to beat 3 times. I think now the Bucks team that they're facing, this is going to be the first time the Saints are facing the real Bucks, I believe. Now that they have, everything in line, they've got the ingredients working, they've fixed all the kinks and in the process. It's going to be different because Alvin Kamara ain't going to be a factor. We already know that's going to be, a staple. And so can Breeze on his arm against that pass rush, dink and dunk his way down the field. I have a feeling he will be, and it's going to be a close one.
I think the Bucks take this one somewhere in the range of a 3 to 7 point victory. The best case scenario for you guys is to come in and blow out the Saints. If you come in and blow out the Saints, the NFC is on notice, 100%. So
that would be nice, but I don't care if we blow them out or if we barely beat them, as long as we move on. Right? Yeah. Then going into either the Packers or the Rams, I think the Bucks will be feeling pretty damn good. But
yeah, I do too.
You do scare. I mean, you guys did beat us once already.
I know as a Rams fan, what I would rather see is the Rams beat the Packers and the Saints beat the Bucks, because I would rather line up against the Saints. But I think what happens is I'll take my Rams because I take them every week. I've taken them 18 times this year. I'll continue to do that. But I think the Bucks get it done in a close game, and I think the Bucks would be my favorite, even in a matchup against my Rams. I'll still pick them, but I would be way more nervous to see the Bucks than the Saints.
We'll see what happens, man. I'm glad. I'm rooting for your team. I really am. I would love.
I'd love to see us both in the NFC Championship game.
Would be a fun one.
And then what we'll do there is we'll agree that whomever wins, we've got to pick that bandwagon. We'll jump that bandwagon. I'll be a Bucks guy if your Bucks beat my Rams in the NFC Championship game. We'll be like, screw you, Patrick Mahomes. We're coming for you.
I will feel extra dirty for that, rooting for an LA team. But you know what? I will do it for you.
There we go. It's just don't root for the Rams. Just root for Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. I know you like those guys.
Hard not to.
Yeah,
I still do that on a weekly basis.
They're beefy.
Well, we are losing connection. I apologize again for my internet issues. I know we had a big snowstorm, and my internet has not been the same since. It was snowing in Mississippi. I literally woke up to it being then, and the Cleveland Browns were up 28-0, and it was snowing outside. I was like, what?
And the world was ending for Jack. Snow in Mississippi, and the Cleveland Browns putting the wood to the Steelers in the playoffs.
This craziness was supposed to end already. I don't know what's.
Yeah, I mean, didn't the world understand that we went into 2021? We're done. Like,
yeah, I think they're saying. I seen a meme. It was that this is the like the 43rd day of December 2020.
Yeah.
We're just gonna
Just
We're gonna
chalk them
keep
all
rolling
up
this
to.
out.
Yep. Yep. This is still last regime. We're running through the last regime, a la a football team. So.
Again, guys, I do just want to say the fact that me and myself, basically the entire Blitzlytics podcast network has been down for quite some time. We did take a nice long vacation or holiday vacation, and we will be moving into doing a little bit less content. Since I know you say that, like draft season's coming up, we're going to be focusing in solely on the draft, and Blitzlytics will be moving in towards doing more draft content. What's that?
Andre Johnson on Twitter just burning the Texans feels, man, that guy is Texans football. I don't know if you saw it. He says, if I'm Deshaun Watson, I stand my ground. The Texans organization is known for wasting players' career. Since Easterby has walked in the building, nothing good has happened for the organization. For some reason, someone can't seem to see what's going on. Pathetic. This is Texans football, Andre Johnson. Get out of here. Get out of here.
Yeah, hopefully JJ Watt ends up somewhere good, but it sounds like the Steelers aren't going to be able to afford him. Again, guys, I see the screen going all crazy. I will just wrap this up and say some big changes, big things coming for Blitzlytics. So we've been doing a lot more work on the side of things, a little bit less content, but expect us to be back. It'll be a irregular basis. How about that? You know, when we can get to it, but business comes first. So again, I appreciate each and every one of you who have stuck with us throughout the years. We're gonna keep trucking on to episode 200, and we'll get there soon. We'll do a nice big fat celebration and reward you guys any way we possibly can. Rob, a pleasure.
Yeah, man, always good to be back at the original spot, you know. Talk a little football.
Yeah. Blitz out. Go Bucks.